Hi, Jeremy here, Modern Vitality. In today's video, mold illness, mycotoxins. What kinds of people tend to get mold illness, right? We're going to look at some of that and, more importantly, what types of people heal from mold illness, okay? When I look at some of the most successful cases I've ever seen, people who have gone from rock bottom to thriving and getting their life back, right? Getting all their vitality, living their life. There are certain trends, certain patterns I notice in terms of these types of people, the way they think, right? I want to explore some of that today for you so that you can take some of these new ideas, new insights, and use that to start getting your life back, right? Obviously with mold, one of the first steps is to get out of the moldy environment. Try to remove that trigger from your life, okay? And that takes a certain type of fortitude as it is already. But beyond that, there are some other things that I think may help you on your journey. Let's get started. So what types of people tend to wind up with this health situation, right? Well, I'm going to generalize here. But what I've noticed is a trend of oftentimes it's people that have a little bit more energetic sensitivity. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, right? It just means that you're able to feel more than the average person. That often is susceptible so that now you get amplified pain or you have an easier time with infections and things like that coming in. It's just a lower boundary between yourself and the outside world. A lot of times this can manifest with immune issues, right? Because the immune system is the boundary between you and others. That's just part of the energetics of this thing. You know, it's without getting too woo-woo, but that's what the immune system does. It protects us from not us, right? It's a boundary enforcement. And a lot of times we'll have this on a physical level with the immune system, but we'll also have it on an energetic or emotional level or an empathic level where the boundaries are a little thinner. Meaning, maybe you're very energetically sensitive. You can kind of feel other people's emotions. You're very empathic, right? Or other people are in pain, you can feel that pain too. That oftentimes creates conditions that it's more likely that people wind up with a complex chronic inflammatory condition, right? That's one of them. Another thing could be having history of abuse, trauma, just basically a rough experience, either as a child, young adult, earlier in life. You know, at any point, all these adverse events, they start to affect the nervous system. So having history of trauma, right, and abuse, it's nothing to be ashamed about. It happens to a lot of people. It's actually quite common. It's shockingly common. But what often happens is that can lodge itself into your system, and that will start to create a little bit of immune sabotage too, which then lets in pathogens, which then creates more inflammation, and you get this kind of vicious cycle going. It's a very common one cause, right? One type of cause. So people who have survived, you know, any kind of trauma, abuse, people who are more energetically sensitive, right? People who tend to put others first. Not that this is a bad thing, but a lot of times they'll give and give. It's a lot of moms, right? It's not always ladies. It's men can get this kind of energy too, but it's a lot of like giving and taking care of and putting everybody else first and never really prioritizing your own self-care and your own kind of center. And that's fine for a while, but over time that will take a toll. So it's a balance, right? Because we have to be there for the other people in our lives. We do. And it's not even just an obligation. It's also what makes life worth living, I think, is to be able to be there for others and take care of other people. And I understand how this happens. But at some point, we have to reprioritize ourselves before we get burned out. Because then, you know, if we don't, then we can't be there for other people because we got burned out, right? And now we have a complex chronic health condition, and now we're needing everybody else to take care of us when that's the opposite of what we wanted. We wanted to be able to be there for other people. So these are some of the main traits, right? And what else happens too is that on this kind of base of traits of being more energetically sensitive, oftentimes having survived some kind of trauma or abuse, and oftentimes putting other people first and trying to take care of everybody else. On top of that, we'll often have some kind of history of like car accidents or weird accidents, just physical things where you know, something fell on your foot, or just like car accidents is a big one. Like a lot of times people get in a lot of car accidents, and that just the physical stress and trauma of just having the body being smashed like that and whipped and all this, that starts to add up. And then we get these long-standing chronic inflammatory conditions. And it makes you more susceptible to hidden pathogens and other things coming in, taking advantage of your system because it's already a little bit run down. And then building on that, what I often notice too is people working with these conditions start to develop a real mental toughness, right? Because you have to start to become more of a survivor mindset or a warrior mindset, at least as part of your evolution, to get out of victim status. Because you think, what is it? My body's doing all this weird stuff. I don't feel good. Why is this happening to me? And most people, that if somebody's going to stay in that place, they never meet me because they're not looking for help, right? But the people I meet, they're the people who have evolved up and out of the victim status, and they're working on actually like fighting this thing and trying to figure out how to beat it, right? Not even fighting it and just like being a warrior and just constantly having to fight it, but the people who do the best, they're trying to evolve out of that warrior mentality and just basically get done with it, right? But they have enough vitality, they have enough attention, they have enough energy and intention to try to like troubleshoot the problem and actually face it versus just hide from it. So we'll get some toughness too, right? It's not just like people who get complex chronic health conditions are just pushovers and they just, have a history of abuse and they just get bullied and walked all over and then car accidents happen to them. It's not all victim. There becomes this part of owning the personal process and developing power and going, you know what? I'm asking for help. I've talked to this doctor, that doctor, this doctor, that doctor, or this doctor, right? I've only gotten so far with each one. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I'm going to actually start researching this thing. I'm going to be in forums, right? Oftentimes they find me, they find this channel, they find our group, right? Modern Vitality Solutions and Support. They come in there, they're asking questions, being very proactive, right? There's a certain mindset that's like, hey, my life's worth living for. I'm not just going to lay down and die, right? And just like let this disease win. Okay, so we get a little bit of a like a fighter spirit. Okay, that's very important. That comes. And so I know I said the traits of people who get these conditions and also the traits of people who overcome them. And this is where that overlap starts to happen, right? Everybody I've ever seen get through this and get on the other side and get their health back. And meaning like going from bedridden, miserable, sometimes semi-suicidal, right? Very low quality of life. And I respect that, right? In this channel, my tone, like I'm a little bit playful with my words and all that, but underneath it's a very serious thing that we're dealing with. These are people who their lives are shrinking, right? And you've probably felt that. Your whole world's getting smaller, right? And you have to respect that. But in the face of that, they don't just quit. They don't just go, I guess this is it, right? They go, no, I got to find some leverage. I got to find some way to push back against this. And you just push on every brick, right? Every wall until you find one that turned out to be a hidden door, right? And you lean on it and something opens, right? It's that kind of attitude. It's that kind of thing that takes people from bedridden to now they're climbing mountains and going on vacation and walking around Europe and helping other people and starting a business and having sex again, dating, right? The relationships coming back, all these things that kind of get backburnered as you get sick, you can get that back with the right plan, right? You need the right plan, you need the right tools, you need the right structure. But I would say even more importantly than having the way lined up is to have the will, right? The will to follow the way, to follow the path. This is something, these are really nuanced conversations, right? But like for me as a healthcare practitioner and just as a general human being, okay, I've seen that people need both. It's really important. You have to have a plan. You've got to have a straightforward, actual plan that makes sense and is structured. And if you've been in my world for any amount of time, you know immune system, digestive system, neuroadrenal, blood circulation, in order. We have an order of operations. We take healing step by step, right? Not to make it linear, but to make it so that you're not missing anything. You're being comprehensive and you're going in an order that your body likes and responds to. So you're not working backwards, sabotaging yourself. I use the highest quality things I can find in terms of like herbs, practices, all this stuff. You want to have the tools top notch, and you want to have the tools arranged in a top notch order, right? It's got to be good. It's got to be right. It's got to be high quality. However, that's only one piece. That's the way, the will, the ability to want to walk the way, right? That's a whole other deal. And I've found that I can lay out the way, I can provide the way, but I can't make somebody have the will. And this is a trait that the people who have done the best, they show up with the will. And we're not perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, but we show up with enough of the will, and we're willing to work on ourselves and find ways that we're sabotaging ourselves so we can get out of our way more so that we can then follow a path that's actually going to lead us to results. This is a very important trait. Now, some of these come with, drawbacks and downsides. So for example, the willingness to try new things. Okay. This is a very important trait because we don't want to get stuck. Now, here's how the vicious circle happens. If we show up and we're like, hey, I want to heal my body, right? I'm tired of living this way. I want to find something. I'm here. I'm showing up, right? I went to all the doctors. They've helped a little bit. I'm still learning. I'm not giving up, right? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. Well, we can only try and fail so many times before we start to run out of mojo and morale gets a little low and the hope bank gets a little low, right? And what can happen sometimes is people who have a tendency to say, yeah, I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to try this. They use up all their wishes, basically, like because they didn't have, unfortunately, they didn't have a structured plan. They didn't have a framework. Like they didn't have the same kind of comprehensive view that they need, right? So try this, try that, try this. And then they wind up looking at one more option. For example, I've had people ask me about that. Like, Jeremy, I would love to do this program. However, I feel like I've tried everything else and failed. And this is the last thing that I could ever try. And I'm scared to try it because I'm scared that if I do try it and it doesn't work, that I won't have any other options. And then I'll feel truly hopeless, right? This is one of the ways where people who have that natural ability to try new things can kind of burn themselves out and wind up in a bit of a twisted situation. Meaning they start thinking that there's going to be one more thing and that's it. And there's no hope afterwards. When in reality, the people who do the best with healing, they realize that the uncertainty around trying a new thing can only be remedied and managed by finding certainty internally. And what I mean by that is when we look at a new thing, anything, and you think, okay, I want to try this, but I'm uncertain about if it'll work or not, right? That uncertainty is painful. The people who are the most successful that I've witnessed and been a part of this process for them is the people who can take that uncertainty and transmute it and say, you know what? Externally, I am uncertain about that process, about this new intervention, this plan, whatever it is. However, internally, I'm going to find certainty that I will never give up. And even if this doesn't work all the way either, that doesn't change my level of hope, right? This is a hard thing to achieve. But I'm here to tell you, this is where the people who do the best, they have this. They bake it into their identity. They bake it into their conscious and their subconsciousness. And they go, I will always keep trying because that's who I am. I'm certain of that. So whether this supplement or this herb or this entire process, right? I'll try that too. And if it doesn't do exactly what it's supposed to do, even if I get some results, it doesn't matter because that won't eat away at my hope. I'm going to always be certain that I will always keep trying, right? This is a very solid mindset. And I think a lot of people are capable of it. They just need to have their mind opened to that's even a reality. Okay, it is. And I know people that operate in this reality. I operate in this reality. That's my default. I will always find a way, right? I apply it to myself. I also apply it to the people I work with, right? I will always find a way. I will stick with your case. I'm stubborn in that way, right? We will find a way. You start to recreate your baseline reality and then new possibilities open up, right? That's a really big one. Now, another trait of successful people is they're not afraid to be weird. Okay? They're not afraid to be seen as different. Now, this tends to happen automatically because when you start getting sick, you kind of, whether you like it or not, you start to become a little bit different than the rest of the group. And you feel it, right? And even if you have a very supportive family, you still feel it. You can try to minimize it, but you feel different. So for example, yeah, I don't want to go on the trip with everybody else. I think I'll just stay home because I don't want to feel guilty about slowing everybody down if I have to rest, right? That kind of thing. You're different from the group. Or we're going to go eat at a restaurant, but I can't have anything on that menu because all that food flares me up. So I'm going to stay home. Or we're going to the restaurant, but I had to bring my own food because I want to still be involved, but I don't want to eat anything that's going to damage me or hurt me. Or I had to eat beforehand, so I'm going to not eat at the restaurant. Like there's all these ways to kind of accommodate the differences, right? Which is fine. I'm not saying that's bad at all. I am saying that that's different. And you'll start to notice that you can't be afraid to stick up for yourself and to do what's right for you, even if it's different than what the rest of the group is doing. And when you're healing, when you're going through a process where, for example, you may be taking certain herbs or you might be trying to avoid certain triggers, right? As we outline all this, what's going to affect your immune system? What's going to affect your digestive system? How can we protect these things? And you start doing things that are a little different than your tribe. You're going to stick out. And the people who do the best on healing are the people who aren't afraid to do the right thing for them, even if it's a little bit different from their tribe, and not make a big deal out of it, right? However, where this gets twisted is when we start to identify with that, when we start to get our own kind of self-worth, like, hey, I'm different, right? I'm different because I'm sick. I'm different because I don't eat the same foods as you. I'm different because I need special accommodations. And that starts to become our identity. And that's where we get all our specialness from. Okay, that's a twist. You don't want to fall into that. And the reason why is because what if you start getting better and you can eat the same food at the restaurant and it doesn't flare you up, right? Will you feel a loss? Will you feel like your status got dropped? I'm not special anymore. Okay? No, that's actually a good sign. So what I've noticed is that one of the best traits is to not be afraid to be different, but also not to cling and grasp to being different because you're sick to give you a sense of special identity. You have to find other ways to get your special identity and to get your love. And most people don't have a hard time with that, because once their eye is open to that, they go, yeah, you know what? Actually, I was doing that, but I would much rather get my love and my significance and all that from actually just being involved in like taking care of other people and helping out and like taking trips and just living life versus getting accommodated because I'm sick, right? So we can find different ways to get our needs met. But one of the things is you have to go through is, first of all, not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to stick out, but then not attaching to it. Because you want to be able to, like, as you get better, as you heal, your circumstances and your situation change, and you need to adapt your reality to that, right? So that means that if you can eat the food now and it doesn't hurt you, then go ahead and just fit in with the group, right? Enjoy that too. Having a nimble mind is very, very helpful. So another trait too is long-term thinking, right? This is one of the ones where I've seen, and a lot of people have this baked in and they don't even know it. So I'm going to open your eyes to some of these traits that you probably already have and you might not even be giving yourself credit for, because a lot of it communicates through the subconscious. I've noticed so many people, and this is not, I'm not trying to condemn any kind of medicine here, but I've noticed so many people say, I don't like pharmaceuticals. I don't want to be on my prescription drugs. It's a common sentiment. Not everybody feels that way. Sometimes prescription drugs are entirely necessary. Sometimes they're lifesavers, right? Sometimes they need to be used at the right time to have the most impact. But I've just noticed a general statement from most of the people I work with. Hey, I'm on these meds. I'd like to get off them. I don't like them. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't like it, right? And when I ask more, because I want to learn, hey, what's going on with that? Like, why do you feel that way? What makes you say that? And if this is something that you feel, maybe you could explore too. Why do I feel this way, right? And there are different reasons, but one of the reasons that I've noticed is that a lot of people feel that that type of intervention is a short-term patch that's been stretched too long. It's not sustainable. It's not leading to medical independence. In fact, it's leading to more dependence. And they just generally don't like the way that train is running, right? They don't like short-term benefits at the expense of long-term health and sustainability. You see, this is something where if you have an urge, like an emotion or just a response, like, I don't like that. I don't like these meds. I want to get off them. Right? Why? Well, you might find out that you actually value, you're a long-term thinker. So give yourself some credit. Okay, that could be driving some of that feeling, that emotion. The people who do really, really well are the people who are okay with a little bit of short-term suffering, as long as it's not just mindless suffering. If it's suffering for a purpose, right, with improvement to get more independence over time, to get their health back over time, to get long-term benefits. The people who come in and they want a magic wand, quick fix, that they don't do well in my world because it's not realistic. And also, by the way, most of the time, people who want that quick fix, they've already tried that elsewhere. Most people who come into my world, like who join our group and ask me questions or I work with long-term, they've already realigned themselves to the reality that this is a long-term process. So that's good. We have a realistic set of expectations. Those are the traits that I'd say help people to do the best. And I would add on a bonus one is a sense of humor. Okay. Some of these people are hilarious. Like some of the people I've worked with they crack me up. They are so funny. And I think personally that having a sense of humor around everything in life, but especially healing, is extremely, extremely helpful. Extremely helpful. And being willing to look and laugh and try to find the bright side, try to find the humor, try to find the funny part, not to escape, right? Not to escape our problems, but to make life just easier, right? To navigate, to be able to cultivate a different presence of mind where you're not always just the victim of the story, where you can start to see what's going on and start to see the larger picture and start to laugh a little bit, even if you're in pain. right? They say laughter is the best medicine. And I really do think the type of mindset, right? The curious, playful mindset that allows us to laugh and sometimes see the humor in otherwise very difficult and very serious situations. It's the same type of mindset that helps us see new ways to solve problems, right? Because curious minds can see things differently. Playful minds can solve problems differently. So we try to cultivate that, right? So I know having complex chronic health conditions and not feeling good is not fun, right? It's not like we need to make fun of it. But if we can find ways to make it more fun, if we can have fun on the journey, that's one way to start to reassert some of our power over the process. Because there's a lot of stuff we can't control, but we can control our attitude, right? So I would encourage you, if you like to laugh, keep doing it, okay? This is one of the most common traits for people who take their power back over complex chronic health conditions. And if you are dealing with this, you don't have to do it alone. We've got a group. We're hilarious, and I think we're funny, right? In our group, we're having a good time, but we're also doing very serious work. And it's international. We've got people from all over the planet following stage-by-stage protocol. You got people that have been working with me for a long time, going through, they're getting their wins, which you can see, you can read along, you can talk to, you can connect, make friends. But also when there's a backslide or a trigger, or a setback or a flare up, you can see right there how we use this system to troubleshoot that. How we get people back on their feet even when life happens and they get a bunch of triggers and they start to feel like they're losing their progress and, panic ensues. But you know what? We have a system, we've got a strategy, and we can diffuse that panic. You can see that happening in real time. It's very cool. Also, if you're in our group, Modern Vitality Solutions and Support, right? It's a free group. If you're in our group, you can ask me anything you want. You'll notice I'm not in the comments here on YouTube. Anyone who wants to have a meaningful interaction or meaningful conversation, that's happening in our group. That's where I'm answering questions. It's a wonderful place to be. I've cultivated a very positive, very supportive environment. So if you are interested in joining our group, right, even if you're kind of introverted or kind of shy, you should become the kind of person who joins a group, right? Because there's no pressure in there. You can just show up and you can listen, you can learn, you can chime in when you want. You're in very good company. There's a lot of introverts in there. There's a lot of people who are empathic and would consider themselves a little bit more on the shy side. But I'll tell you, they come to life, right? People come to life when they're in the right environment. So if I see your application come in and you look like a good fit, I'll get you in as soon as I can. I keep the group small so that I know who I'm talking to and I can help you with specific information. But that also means the trade-off is that we fill up kind of quick. So there may be a bit of a wait. When your application comes through, if it looks good, I'll try to get you in within our next monthly batch. We have monthly cohorts. So hopefully it's not too long of a wait for you. And in the meantime, you might consider subscribing to this channel, right? Maybe you like these videos. Maybe they're helping you. Maybe you want to train the algorithm to show you more things that help you get your life back. Maybe that's the most important thing for you right now, is to take care of yourself so that you can then be there for other people and help other people. All right, I hope this video helps you. Let's get you feeling better. Cheers.